Okay. Well, again, nice to see everybody. I was kind of hoping to see Mike Farrell. He's one of our new members. And Catherine, I'm sorry I didn't remember you from the earlier meeting. It was so long ago.
Okay. Yeah.
I have trouble remembering last week sometimes, or this morning even. But trying to think, do we have, well, Lana's our guest. She's our presenter today. And don't think, oh, Betsy, haven't seen Betsy at a meeting before, although I know she predates me by quite a bit. Hello. And so that's exciting. So welcome everybody. I want to talk a little bit about the schedule and plans for the next couple of months. We worked out a calendar, a tentative calendar for 2022. We'll be sending that along as we need to tweak it a little bit more. But you guys will have that so you can have it in hand and get a heads up. Right now, what we've got going on is Explore This is open, and it's open until November 15th. I know Karen is getting something ready for that if it's not already done, and I'm trying to meet the deadline. Anybody else? Nope.
Shannon's just joined us.
Who has?
Shannon.
Sharon.
Hi there.
Hi.
Oh, there we go. Hi, Sharon. This is good. Okay, so also November 5th, 6th, we have a drop in and draw. That's a Saturday, 10 to 12. So nice, no stress, get together, doodle, do whatever you can do in front of your computer. The other thing that we're looking at is trying to get together for the December meeting. We're actually trying to have a physical meeting because it's the holiday, and you know, so many of us are dying to actually see each other in person. Ruth is talking to the church, the normal meeting place in Long Beach, just over the edge there. And so cross your fingers, we're hoping to make that happen because we'd really like to have a nice holiday get together. For those who cannot attend, we are planning to Zoom or stream somehow, but you're going to have more information on that, you know, in the coming month or so, because we're going to need to work out the technical aspects of, you know, making sure that the distant people can still participate. We want to hold on to everybody we can. So I know Heather's out of state, Bonnie's out of state. Bonnie Haney's not here right now. She's in New York. You know, some of you are up north. Hopefully you can still make it in, Sharon, with, you know, Dean and Phil, and maybe we can get Andy to arrive. That would be good. But the church seems to be a location that, you know, members prior to this have been able to make. So any new word on that, Ruth?
No, Father has been delayed in the Congo. They canceled his flight.
Oh,
so,
dear.
Yeah. So we're expecting him back sometime next week.
Okay,
And
that's great.
He's the only one who can make a final decision.
Right.
And a lot of it is also what the Archdiocese is recommending for all of the parishes.
Right.
But you know, things, hopefully the hospitalizations are down. So I'm optimistic that by December we can have it.
Right. Well, in any case, we'll figure something out, because I'm, you know, we're bound and determined to make that happen, because there's people that won't Zoom that are waiting, you know, for a physical meeting, and we want to accommodate them because we want to see them just as much as they want to see us. Mm-hmm. What was that other thing I was going to say? Something. In any case, we're going to figure it out. We'll make it happen, and we'll make sure that, you know, anybody at a distance that can't come in gets to participate as well. Okay, and I will make sure and get 2022 calendar tweaked and sent out to everybody. It's going to be, obviously things change, but we've got some good dates. Let's see what else. Online exhibition. Did everybody get a chance to check out the online exhibition we had?
It's fabulous.
Awesome. Very happy. A lot of work went into that. And
Yeah. Good job, Helen.
we have big plans for next year. So it's going to be even bigger and better. And I'm very happy with the way it turned out for, making something out of nothing. So thank you to everybody that submitted. You guys made it great. We got a lot of positive comments from the other chapters and from the national board. And so it's pretty exciting. I thought we showed up pretty well. And we got, 53 pieces of art, which is fabulous. And I think we can handle even more because we can possibly open it up to the other chapters, say San Jose, etc. Open it up to California because there's plenty of colored pencil artists that are not members in California. And, if we get people to participate, they could be members and that would be great. So enough on that. Newsletter is my next item. Thank you to everyone who helps out with submissions. It's huge. You guys make it look great. We got positive comments. Vera, the founder, Vera Curnow, sent a very nice email commenting on our newsletter and how it represents colored pencil well and is a good advertisement for our group and the national board. So well done on that. That's kind of, the artwork and the tidbits and the articles that you guys submit make a huge difference. The only new member that I think I would, Catherine and Betsy, if you are willing to participate in the chapter display that we're going to have for Florida next year. It's the box display at the back of that would be great. It's a little 3x3.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Sorry.
Yeah. And, there's some people that still haven't done that, the regular ongoing members. So it'd be great if you can do that because I can make this box explode as many pieces of artwork as I can, as many pieces of artwork as I get in. So that would be great. And that's all I have right now. Really excited to have Lana here with us so we can, have a new presenter. So that'll be fun. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Helen so that I can check and make sure I don't have any other people hanging out emailing me. On to Helen.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's lovely to see all your lovely faces again. And keep going and keep drawing. Yes, as Sue's been saying, we are going to have a very, very fun-filled time next year. We have got quite a lot of things on our agenda that we wish to do. Getting together at Christmas is obviously, like I say, the priority. So we can see everybody, and we have a few large announcements we're going to make in that meeting. Also, next February, I'm just checking my agenda meetings here. We do have a normal meeting. Hopefully it'll be face-to-face, but again, we shall see. And our demonstration artist for that meeting will be Debbie Shaw, who'll be doing the nice presentation. We're going to have a few other artists who are going to be doing workshops. I've definitely got sorted Paco to do a workshop in April. And I will be sending out a survey, or Sue and I'll be sending out a survey for other artists whom you might like. There are a few I've already been in contact with. So I'd like to also hear your feedback of who else you might like, because obviously, as you know, I don't know many American artists. Mine's obviously a little bit more British. I have contacted Bonnie Snowden in the UK, who specialises in fur, for any of you who wishes to get over that hair fur situation that is their nemesis of moving forward as a great coloured pencil artist. So yeah, it'd be great to hear from you and see who else you might like, and feedback is obviously great. That's sort of me for now, really. I think next would be Ruth, who's going to hopefully tell us a little bit more about maybe the Cyprus thing that we're hoping to hold in April. Hi.
Did you want me to talk about it now? Okay,
Yeah.
it's on the schedule. And the take-in is on March 5th, the reception on the 12th, and then we are scheduled for a physical workshop at the Cypress Center for the 19th. And so that's, of course, if we have a physical artist, so a workshop instructor. But it is on the list. They're expecting to have it open. And so it would be nice to get back together and have one where we can walk around and look on the walls and see the artwork.
Okay, Ruth, excuse me, Lupe, do you have Judy Jacobs waiting for you, or is she on the wrong link?
I just got her email, so I'm launching on to the new one.
Okay, great. Thank you. See you then. Okay. It's happening. All right. So got through that. And Karen.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Right now we have 55 paid members. So, and recently I've been getting a lot of new members. So that's kind of, that's exciting. And I'm hoping that guests that are here today will hopefully decide to join us. I would like to welcome all the new members, and usually we have new members introduce themselves to us, but we'll see if we have time to do that later. So if you're a new member and you haven't had a chance to introduce yourself, hopefully we'll have the opportunity today. Okay, so this year, the membership fee is $20. So please make your checks out to CPSA DC214 and have them sent to me. The application and my address information is on the last page of the newsletter. I would really greatly appreciate it if you guys could get your checks to me as soon as possible. It makes things a little bit easier for me and for Ruth. I also want to clarify, we had some people that were not sure. Last year I was getting checks for the national. So to make it clear, I do not process their fees. So I just do it for our chapter. So so you all should have been getting an email from them for their renewal. Okay, the other thing, I'm going to start taking orders for our badge, and they're $11. And this is a separate check, and it's to go to me, to Karen Taka. And it's $11. And the more people that order them, the price will get reduced. And then I will give you the change if we get a lot of people to order them. I would like to get these orders in hopefully by the end or beginning of November so that I could send it to them. And then hopefully we'll get them back before our December meeting, in which I could hopefully give it to you in person.
Karen, you might mention that those are magnetic.
Oh, that's right.
That's the nicest part about them.
You're right. They don't poke holes in your clothes. So
it would be nice to have them. If you don't have one, it would be nice for you to have one for Florida, the Florida convention.
Yeah, it's nice when you know, we would wear them when we meet in person, so they'll know who you are. But it's good also for our national conventions when you could wear them and they could recognize your name and where your chapter you belong to. But it's also great when we're the hosting chapter for our national convention, so that people will know that we are the hosting member. If we have time, I don't see everybody on my screen, but if we have time, Lupe or Sue, maybe people who are new that did not have a chance to introduce themselves, you could have a chance to do it now.
Okay. I also want to point out that we are still pending on our online paying.
Oh, right.
The application is in, so it's business as usual as far as paying dues at this point. And, we're in the process of making this happen. It's just not there yet, but eventually we're going to be able to do things like pay for entries, pay for workshops, pay for raffles, pay for dues, and it is going to be easy, easy, easy. So looking forward to that. It's a great bookkeeping thing, plus just speed. And it's with Stripe, which is very high security, and, looking forward to that. Hi, Judy, you made it.
Oh,
Good
there
job.
was one more thing I would like. When you send in your check or the application on there, if you could let me know what year you joined our chapter, that's one thing that's missing on my roster, and I would like to keep track of that. So if you could indicate what year you joined us, I would appreciate that.
I'm going to note that for the newsletter too. It's just helps when we can see how long people have been around and celebrate their anniversaries and things like that. So it's good to know. Okay, let's see what we got. All right, Ruth/Lupe, treasurer reports.
Okay, the income and the expenses since the last report, which is, I just took over, and the last report that Lupe has is as of July 31st. And since then, there were all the show entries, and the income amounted to $660.01. The expenses amounted to $1,077.52, and most of that was the show expenses and the Zoom account. So we have currently a balance of $2,052.24.
Awesome. I'm not money motivated, but I want us to be able to pay our bills and have a cushion.
Exactly. You need a cushion.
Yeah. So this is good. I'm glad we're solvent, and that's going to get better as the dues come in. And
But I'd like to also add, if somebody really wants to be treasurer, I'm sort of hoping to be temporary. So if you've got those skills, we welcome you.
all right. Well, I will never be treasurer, but thank you for helping in the interim.
Sue, can we have new members introduce themselves if we have time?
Sure. We have Betsy, who is actually not new, but she's new now. Not everybody knows Betsy.
Yeah. Where is she? She's hiding.
Right there. She's got trees in the background that are.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Betsy. Unmute.
Oh, there she is.
There we
Okay.
go.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I
Welcome
combed my
back.
hair wonky today, so that's good. So everyone can see that. And I don't know what to say. My membership lapsed, and because when things lapse, they disappear from me forever.
Right.
So I didn't realize I had lapsed. So I'm glad to be back. I didn't know I was gone.
Well, you have a long history with CPSA, and you have a very close relationship with Vera, the founder. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, that would be great.
Well, when Vera first wrote the letter to one of the art magazines, talking about colored pencil, we were at that time close friends up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And this is pre internet and all of that. And so she was on her typewriter typing out all these letters, actual letters to all the people that wrote in. And so I was around when she got the idea and then actually started CPSA. And I hot-headedly said, no way am I joining this thing. Good God, something where you have to only use colored pencil, because I like using mixed media. So I refused. And then the second year, I had to actually make some pieces to get in the show. So, so that that were not mixed media pieces.
Right. And I've done at least 3 of your workshops, and they're not to be missed. And you are currently a professor in the visual arts department of Cal State Fullerton.
Yes.
And the judge of our show.
Yes. And it was so fun seeing all the great work. I was really impressed, super impressed.
I appreciate you taking on that job. It's not an easy job and not necessarily fun either.
Well, thank you
All right.
very much for asking.
Okay. And Catherine, I don't think you got a chance to talk at the last meeting that you were at.
Oh. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here. Thank you. I just joined, I think, in May, and I live in La Cañada, north of LA. And I guess most of my subject is landscape and animals in colored pencil. No mixed media, all colored pencil. So
Yeah, very detailed knockouts. So
yeah, very detailed.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. And Heather, I know you've been around a bit, but I don't think you've gotten a chance to talk about yourself at all.
I think I'm unmuted now. I live in St. Augustine, Florida. I'm from upstate New York originally. And I just decided, as long as this last year everybody was doing Zoom, that I would expand myself to other chapters and see what everybody else is doing. So that's why I joined last year, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I appreciate you taking us long distancers into consideration for your meetings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Anyone else need to say or want to say anything? How are we doing? We're doing pretty good.
Karen, are you you would be the one to know who, is there anyone else that's joined?
I just don't have the screen. I don't see everybody, unfortunately, so I don't know.
I think we've got everybody.
Did Sharon get to
Judy.
introduce herself?
Judy Jacobs, right? You haven't.
Judy Jacobs has been around a while.
Patricia Mark, is she there?
Nope, don't see
Or
her.
Tracy Loving,
No.
Carolyn Kenny,
No, I think no one else. I think no.
no one else?
Yeah, well, I want to point out that Judy Jacobs has taken on being president of the San Diego chapter. Bless her heart.
Oh, very good.
So, you know, I think you're still muted. You might still be muted, Judy, if you wanted to say something.
Muted.
No, not hearing you.
She's not muted, but we can't hear you. That's so.
Is she muted on your end, Lupe?
No. You're muted right now.
Might be microphone, might not be on.
Yeah. You show is muted, but if you click again, unmute yourself. There, but yeah, I think we still can't hear you.
Well,
Something
try to
must
talk
be-
now.
Yeah, there's something.
No, we can't hear you. Can you hear us? Okay, good. Well,
Must be something, a microphone on her end.
unless you know sign language and someone else can translate.
Did you turn your mic on when you joined the meeting?
Sometimes you need to go out and sign in again
Yeah,
to get the
Yeah.
microphone linked.
It
Yeah.
may be your audio that's out.
yeah.
All right, let's see what else we have going on here.
Sharon?
Sharon, you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Let's see, I joined actually, I think it was in the summer time, a couple of meetings ago, I think. And I live in Ventura, and I kind of got to this group through Phil, because Phil and I have done some workshops together up here in my studio, which is in Camarillo. And so he mentioned your group. And so when you got on Zoom, then I was able to join because I didn't want to drive down. And so I do a lot of different mediums. I do colored pencil, but I've also been doing scratchboard. I do a lot of, create a lot of jewelry. And I do some paintings. I used to do a lot of them, oils and acrylics, but I don't so much anymore just because of Zoom. It's easier to do less mess kind of mediums here at the house than it is sometimes to go to my studio. So anyway, I'm glad to be part of the group.
Yep, glad to have you. Sharon's professional work life was as a professional photographer with her husband.
Yeah, we did weddings for about 15 years. So that's that skill has worked really nicely for all the art photographs that I wanted to, you know, photograph and paint.
Mm-hmm. Very handy to have your own references.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think that just about covers everybody. Where are we on time? Oh, we are good on time. Let's see. Lupe, did you get anything any artwork to share from anyone?
No, I didn't get anything this time.
Okay. Arlene?
I'd like a moment of shameless self-promotion.
Absolutely. We love it.
So I'm teaching at the in Calabasas at the Senior Center on Tuesday mornings live. They set up a tent, and I've got about 12 people in my class right now, which is great. And if you are interested in taking a colored pencil class, go to the Calabasas Recreation Department to their senior program and look for colored pencil, or contact me and I'll give you the information on that.
Nice.
And the second item of shameless self-promotion is I'm a member of Tag Gallery. It's a cooperative gallery, and it's located on Wilshire Boulevard, not far from LACMA. And I have a show coming up in November. It's not a colored pencil show. I make paper and paint it. And so it's a recycled paper show that I'm doing. And the show opens on the 20th of November. And if you'd like any information or want to come by the gallery and see my show, I would be delighted. So just let me know. End of self-promotion. Shameless.
I believe that Sharon and Gary and Connie are part of the Foothills Art Association, and they have some shows coming up as well.
Yeah, we have a wildlife in art show the applications start on October 10th, and it's for any medium, any undomesticated animal. I tried to do my parrot once, but that was not acceptable. But it's a wonderful show. We get entries from all over the state, and you can reach it at, I think it's foothillsart.com, but the prospectus is online, and I would encourage people to join if you have animal pictures. We have $2,500 in prizes.
Wow.
So there will be some nice cash prizes awarded.
Catherine, sounds like it's right up your alley.
I would also add that it's going to be an in-person show in the gallery, so it's just not an online show. So
Okay.
if you do enter, you would be bringing, I think it's a two-tier where you would enter online. The judge picks, I think it's probably around 100 pieces of artwork for the second tier. And if you are chosen, then you would need to bring it down to San Diego for it to be hung in the gallery.
May I ask that you should, one of you guys could please forward that information to Sue so we can pop that into the newsletter.
I already have it, I think.
Oh, you're an
Yeah. Now, is there not a small image show also coming up?
The small image show is going to be this month, and it is also it's also an in-gallery exhibit, and it is a judged show. The images can be any medium. You want it to be, the drawing has to be 7 by 7 or less, but the frame and the matting can be any size. So it's not the complete thing. You know, in some shows, you know, the complete artwork, including the frame and matting, has to be less than 7 by 7. But for this, just the drawing or the painting has to be 7 by 7 or less.
Okay.
That will also be judged, and there are cash prizes for that.
Wonderful. I'm checking my email to make sure that somebody's not still lost. Okay. Doesn't look like it. For some reason, Buena didn't make it. Hopefully she got her other email. All right, so we are at the point of, now a lot of this good news, we have good news from various people that's going to be in the newsletter, which you do not have yet. I did not forget you, it's just not there. We have an extra special Meet the Artist, and it's a secret, and that's taking a little bit longer. So I hope to have that done Monday or Tuesday so that you guys can see it. And where am I now? Agenda. All right. So looks like we are at a good time for a really quick break, and then we will go ahead and jump on with Lana. So let's see everybody back at 11. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Turn off the video for a minute. And I'm going to mute you so you don't have to listen to my dogs.
Gary,
Yes,
what was the name of that show? The Small Piece Show?
it's just the small image show. It's in Foothills Art Association.
Oh, okay.
And that is
Thank
for the small image show is for members only. I'm sorry. I should
Oh,
mention that.
oh, okay. Great. I'll look into it anyways. Maybe I'll go.
Okay. Yeah, Foothills is an excellent, we have our own gallery.
Oh,
Foothills also hosts the San Diego Drawing Guild, which is our Wednesday group. And there are several members on the Zoom meeting that are members for our Wednesday group. And we have been meeting for 4 years now, I think is what we figured out.
mm-hmm. And where is it exactly
either
located?
Correct me or.
Yeah, I think we're going into our 5th year.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And where
And
is
we-
it? What city?
San
It's in
Diego.
San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Okay.
Yeah, and we meet from 10 until 2 every Wednesday, come heck or high water. And we've been meeting in person for the last couple months, which has been a godsend. So we're just really happy that we have the group that we can meet, and we've more or less become a family rather than just a group of artists that meet.
And the gallery has been wonderfully supportive. We've twice been the featured artist of the month, our drawing group has, and they've been just beautiful toward us. When we applied the first time to be the featured artist of the month, they said we didn't even need to be juried in because they'd all seen us drawing on Wednesdays and they knew the caliber of our work, which was really flattering and nice. And we had a great show that month. And then I think a while back, I did a presentation for this group on our COVID project where we were taking turns drawing different concepts or ideas each month. And that whole group of work, it was 42 pieces, was featured as the featured artist of the month by the gallery.
That's very cool. Can you ship pieces down for shows? Because like that's a long drive for me. Do they take shipping?
I'm in the take-in committee, so yeah, that is possible. You would just coordinate it with me, and I would you'd probably just ship it to me, and then I'll bring it in for take-in.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'll look into it.
We have 3 major shows every year. We have the members show, which also is a juried prize show. We have the small image show, which a lot of people really love. And then the big show is the wildlife and art show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds really great.
So I'm going to share a little bit of good news for me too. I was contacted by Ann Kahlberg, and she has asked me if I would do an in-depth tutorial for wildlife. I'm thinking about it. There's a lot going on in my life, but it was an honor to be asked even to do an in-depth tutorial. I don't know if any of you know what Ann Kahlberg's tutorials are like. They're usually about a 30 some odd page book where it's a step-by-step of your artwork and how to do it. And, you know, you talk about why you do a certain technique, and, you know, it's from the beginning concept of a reference photo to your line drawing, to your beginning steps through your finished project.
I did 2 of those for her, Gary.
Oh, wow.
It was like 3 times as much work as I expected. And now I'm doing 2 of them for Carrie Lewis, if you know her.
Oh, right. I do know her.
Carrie Lewis? Yeah.
Yeah, it's this kind of thing.
Yes.
Yep. Just pages and pages of work. So pretty exciting. And now, and did you say what kind of subject you're doing it on, Gary?
She wants me to do a wildlife drawing close to, I don't know if you guys remember a heron drawing that I did years ago. Let me see if I can pull it off on my phone real quick.
I think you had it in our show, didn't you?
I did.
Okay.
Whoops. There it is. So this was the drawing that I did.
Oh, that's
of your work,
beautiful.
So something along that lines. But like I said, there's an awful lot going on in my life, so I'm sort of holding off on. You know, I told her I was interested, but maybe down the road. So we'll go from there.
Yep. Makes sense.
It's a great learning experience. Boy.
I need all the hair that I have, though.
Yeah, I'm afraid I feel the same way. It's just having to keep track of things. I'm not that organized. I'm not that precise. I think you have more of a working method, but I am definitely not there. I would not be.
It's just stopping. It's stopping and taking photographs all the time. It's just really, it's just, it takes you so long to do.
Right.
But it's fun to have. Fun to do it, but it's just a lot of work.
Yeah. Living through it is half the battle. All right. So we're getting close. How are you doing, Lana? Are you almost ready to do this?
Yeah, I'm ready anytime. I just had this off because I was doing a couple things in my studio and didn't want to be distracting.
Perfect. Well, we've got Lupe is not in the area. We're waiting for Heather. So then we can start.
While people are kind of coming back, do you guys use the chat feature in your meetings very often?
We can. We haven't had that much experience with it, but we can keep an eyeball on it.
I don't have many things, but there were a couple questions that I wanted to ask you guys during the presentation that I was going to use in kind of in some of the demos. I just wanted to make sure that they're as tailored as possible. And so maybe I'll do just like a quick mini tutorial on using chat if it's not something that you've used a ton. But along the bottom, there's several icons in your Zoom bar, and one of them has the little message feature with chat.
Right.
And then if you click it, then the chat pops up, and someone has already been in here. Tell us to that. Well, maybe that's just me. No, that's just a private message. That's not totally okay.
Yeah, that's
but if
Helen.
you go to everybody in the to section, there's you can determine who you're sending it to. So you can go to everyone. And then when I ask you guys some questions, you can just type your answers in there so that I can read them and so can you.
Right. Sounds good.
Cool. And then if you guys would prefer to just do verbal, we can do that too. I just thought it would be kind of nice to have a little record there and everybody gets a chance to talk, right?
Right. We don't have a huge amount of people, so it shouldn't be too distracting if somebody just wants to bring something up.
Sure. Yeah.
And then that way people ask questions other people didn't think of.
And I'm going to check one other thing. The other thing that I'll just need before we start is for whoever's hosting this meeting to enable my screen share so that I can attach my camera and show you guys some images.
Okay. All right.
Yes, Lana, I just made you co-host, so you can now do whatever sharing you need to do.
Awesome. Great. Well, you just let me know when you guys are ready to go and I'll get started.
Okay. Have we got Heather back yet? I don't see her. Well, as soon as Heather shows up, we'll be good to go. Well, hold on. Heather, there she is. Okay. All right. Ready when you are. This is Lana Gloschat, and this is, have you done this before with chapters yet?
You know what? I've never been into a CPSA chapter before, but I do host quite a few Zoom events. So I'm fairly comfortable with it. But of course, there's always sometimes tech things happen. So
sure. But you have lots of lots of YouTube videos that I've enjoyed. So you're accomplished.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and get started, and I'll start by just sharing my screen with you. And as I have a little PowerPoint presentation to help me keep myself focused, and then also just to give you guys some visuals. So just to do a quick double check, it's loading now, but can everybody see my screen and the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the focus of my presentation today is painting with colored pencils. So obviously our colored pencils are not paint, but I really like focusing on a painterly approach with colored pencil and bringing in painting concepts into my work. And so I really wanted to start off with just getting to know a little bit about each of you, and the things I wanted to focus on were what's your artistic background, So do you have formal training? Are you self-taught? How many years have you been working in it? Do you consider yourself like professional, intermediate, etc.? And then the other thing I was curious about is why you work with colored pencils. And so I'd love for you to keep this brief. And so it's not like, no, don't write a paragraph, just 2 sentences maybe in the chat. And then we'll share out some of those things that are motivating you with colored pencils and your background. And if there is somebody that's uncomfortable typing into the chat, just let me know and you can share out. I am not seeing any responses so far, but you guys are probably typing it.
We've got several going into the chat room. I don't know if
I just saw them pop up. I must have been a loading situation. Okay. So Arlene's talking about pushing the limits of colored pencil. I've got Gary. He's got a degree in fine art and loves all drawing media. Judy is self-taught. Connie and Sharon, self-taught. Lots of time though with color pencils, and formal training from Rhonda. Self-taught. So it's kind of a mix. And one of the reasons I wanted to check is because in my experience, a lot of artists that come to colored pencils are often self-taught or often don't have a lot of formal training in colored pencil, because it's not necessarily a new media, but it isn't really one of those hallmark media like you're training in oil painting, or a lot of maybe 20, 30 years ago, oil or watercolor was very big and you took lots of classes in watercolor. And so I think that we all kind of come into color pencil for very specific reasons. And I wanted to share with you a little bit about like why I work with colored pencils. I trained as an oil painter, and through high school and college, I worked predominantly with oil paint. But I moved and grew up and couldn't afford big studio spaces anymore, had little kids, and I just didn't have the space to work anymore with oil paint. So I wanted to show you guys a couple pictures of my studios because I just have these tiny little workspaces. So here's a picture of my son popping bubbles, and this door behind him is actually my studio space. So when you open it up, this picture on the right is the way that I would work. I'd have my whole studio in a closet and I just open up the door. And that isn't something that I could do with oil paint. And I've also had like a lot of ventilation and storage limitations. So my current studio is like a space in the basement. This is where I am today. And it doesn't have any windows, which then becomes a very big issue when you're working with solvents or toxic chemicals. The oil painting fumes don't have anywhere to kind of disperse to. So it wants to play the video again. There we go. And then the other reason that I work with colored pencils is just I love the possibilities. I think when I started with colored pencil, it wasn't the most versatile medium, but then I started playing around with different surfaces and mixing it with different media, and it became this really, really exciting media that just had so many options. And so today I wanted to talk about how my traditional training as an oil painter has influenced my process, and share with you some ideas that you can use in your work if you're interested in kind of taking a more traditional or a more painterly approach with your colored pencil process, and how this can enhance realism. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple of different ideas, and then I'm gonna switch over to a demo where I'll hook up my camera and then show you guys exactly what I'm doing. So one of the things that I have found very, very helpful with my work is observational drawing. So I think a lot of this came from just practicing drawing from objects from life. So in those of you that have the formal traditional training, you probably also set up still lifes. You worked in studios with live models, and you practiced that skill of looking at something and drawing it. I know that a lot of artists that are self-taught, often if that is kind of an uncomfortable thing, they're doing a lot of tracing or copying reference photos, and that can be a little bit limiting for you, because if you're always focused on working directly from a photograph, you might not be making those compositional decisions that are going to make the strongest piece possible. I heard someone out there is a photographer, and you probably are very, very comfortable getting the exact perfect shot with a camera. But if you're limited and not so confident with that, being able to draw and have those nice, strong drawing skills gives you the option to say, okay, I don't actually want that pair there anymore. I'm going to move it. And so this image that I'm sharing with you here is a line drawing of me and my son. And this is actually composed from probably 10 to 15 different photographs. I liked these Legos in this one. I liked this photo of me in this one. And so being able to draw gives you that option of really controlling your composition. And then you can also just, when you're confident with your drawing, you can adjust for the distortions that the camera does sometimes. I'm going to go to the next one. So this is just an image of some of the line drawings that I do in my work before I transfer them onto my final surface. And if at this point, I'll just do a little quick pause and see if there's any questions that have popped up about line drawing or drawing from life or anything like that.
We're good.
You're good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. Someone is in the waiting room though for the other host that just popped up on. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So so just some ideas if you are trying to bring a little bit more of that drawing into your own work is to limit tracing. And sometimes tracing can be such a great way to save time, but maybe if you alter it, like every other piece, I'm going to draw this from life because I'm going to sharpen up my drawing skills and get a little bit better at my observational drawing. And then I don't know if anyone here has attended life drawing sessions. I'm in Utah and those things are starting to open up again, but I'm not sure what that looks like in California. But if you, who's been able to attend life drawing sessions before, drawing a model from life? I can see some hands, but I don't see everybody because of my options. So just shout out if
I have.
Yeah. And
I have a horrible story too.
Say that again.
I have a horrible story too.
Oh. I don't know. Maybe we'll share it till the end. Share it at the end.
Ask me later.
Get you excited about life drawing.
I have too. Yeah, lots
Great.
of it.
Great. And then the other thing that you can do if the life drawing sessions aren't really opening up in your area and you do want more of that observational practice and drawing from three-dimensional objects, is to set up still lifes in your workspace. So, this piece on the right is one from several years ago, but I had just set this up in my garage and drew it from life. And I felt that it was so informative in like learning how to draw metal by observing metal, seeing what are the things around this space that are reflecting in it. And then when I draw from photographs, I'm able to bring in some of my experience from drawing from life. And then so that drawing from life is kind of like my first like really big thing in my work. My second one is value studies and underpainting. So I think that one way to just really enhance the realism in your work and bring in some of that traditional is to make sure that you are really strong in your value. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to work with monochromatic media from time to time. This allows you to take color out of the world completely. And I think sometimes as color pencil artists, we really don't necessarily want to do that. We want to work with all the color. But one way to really, really pump up your skills is to just focus on the value so that when you add the color in, your colors are more true and your colors are what I would call color values are accurate. And so this piece on the right is just a piece in graphite that I do as studies to help me kind of keep my value skills sharp. The other thing that I really like to do is to create grisailles or underpaintings in underneath my final color. And so I wanted to share a couple images of what that looks like. My screen doesn't want to turn to the next one. Do a quick, have to this it. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm not sure exactly why that decided to stop working. But I wanted to show you kind of the progression on one of my pieces that is built up in a very traditional way, traditional kind of referring to like classical oil painting techniques. So I start with a line drawing, and then I add a value underpainting underneath. And this value underpainting, the one in the middle, is all done with colored pencil. So I use actually like a water soluble colored pencil for the base to stain my white paper. And so that kind of orangey neutral color in the background is also a color pencil. And then I add oil-based colored pencils over the top of that surface to give the dark and the light shapes in my composition. And at that point I can, oh my goodness, sorry about that. That is really, really touchy now. And then I can glaze color over the top of it to really create the, to make sure that all my values are accurate first, and then the color glazes right over the top. So I'll show you a couple other pieces that kind of build up that same way. These ones include a couple of photographs with the color where it actually starts out very transparent, and then I build them up in layers. I'll also take like just a quick second because I'm going to kind of shift topics a bit. If you have any questions at this point, I'm happy to answer any about kind of this value underpainting technique that I use.
I have a question.
Sharon, yeah, go ahead.
Sharon Shepard. You said you used oil-based colored pencils. What oil-based, what colored pencils are you talking about?
Oh, okay. So I just regular my colored pencils, like my oily pencils and my waxy pencils. Oh. And oil-based colored pencils would be like your polychromos or your Pablo pencils, right? And then your wax-based colored pencils would be more like your Prismacolor, your Luminance, your Derwent Drawing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about something different than color. When you said water-based and then you said oil-based, I thought we were talking.
Got you. Yeah, I can see that. And the water-based colored pencils, the specific ones that I use are either like the aquarelles by Karen Dash, the museum aquarelles, I think they're called, or I also like to use Inktense colored pencils and blocks, which are slightly different, but I still kind of classify them as colored pencils. Was there another question?
No, I just wanted to make sure that the pears, the bananas, they're actually all colored pencil, and these are just you're layering to get that effect.
Yep, these pieces are 100% colored pencil.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to, and then my screen is doing this funny thing where it's stuck again. I'm so sorry about that. I'll just come out and then come back in again. So if you looking at your own work are kind of thinking like, yeah, I really would like to work on the value and work on getting my values stronger so that eventually my colors are going to be a lot more impactful. Some ideas for enhancing that would be to work monochromatically from time to time. So maybe like just work with one color in your color pencil set, or even work with charcoal or graphite so that you're only focusing on the values. And when you do that from a color photo reference, you're going to be able to look at the color photo, and you're going to practice turning that color into just value. And that can be a really great experience. So if you do choose to work monochromatically, I would say definitely use a color photo reference. Don't just turn it to black and white, because you want that skill of being able to see the value within a color. And then another thing that you can do, like the images I just showed you, are to experiment with grisailles or underpaintings and then glazing color directly over the top of them. And then you can also check your values in your work. So you could take a photograph of your work, and then either in like a photo editing app or on iPhotos or something, you can switch it to black and white and see if your own colored pencil work reads accurately if all the color is removed. So I'm gonna, oh goodness, I guess I will just keep doing this because it doesn't want to switch my screen anymore. Sorry about that. And at this point, I wanted to just mention really quick a class that I teach about this particular way of building up a piece. So having the line drawing, the value underpainting, and adding color. And that's something I'm doing online. So it's open to wherever you live in the world, and there's 14 video lessons and you learn the entire process step by step. And I have some coupon codes for you if that's something that you're interested in, and I'll share that at the end of our time together today. But I do teach that process. So I'm actually going to skip a couple slides and switch over to our demo because I'm getting antsy and excited to draw with you. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what I'm doing, and then I'll turn the camera on. So I work with a lot of sanded papers. I like the way that it allows me to layer and build up my colored pencil a little bit more like paint, able to lay light values on top of dark values, blends, and I think it's a really fun way to work. And I do have like a whole YouTube playlist that I think someone had mentioned already, that just if you really want to dig into what I'm doing with Lux Archival sanded paper or sanded paper in general, that's out there. And then one of the tools I love using underneath my colored pencil pieces is Pastel. And I like using, so this is actually like a totally different way of working than what I was just telling you guys about with my very step-by-step line value color, which would be more of a indirect painting approach, very traditional, very like an oil painting. This, what I'm going to be demoing for you today with the pan pastels is going to be more of what I would consider a direct painting approach. So this would be, you're responding directly with color and value to your surface. This is what like the plein air artists are doing when they go into the landscape and they're painting directly on their canvas. And I think it's a really fun way to speed up your colored pencil pieces and to add a little bit more mark, a little bit more emotion, and be a little bit more painterly with your process. It does require that you move a little quicker and that you are dealing with form, value, and color all at once. And so so I'll be talking about that as I do the demo today. And then I am just going to do the pan pastel base for time reasons, but I do have some images that I'm going to show you on what it looks like when I add the colored pencil on top. So at this point, I'm going to switch my camera over. If you have any questions, please shout them out as I'm switching things around, and I'm happy to answer them.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. Lana, do you want me to read some of these questions?
Oh, are they popping in on the chat?
Looks like.
Yes, would you please, while I'm getting my camera set up?
Okay, let me get down there. The one question I'm seeing right now is, what papers work best with grisaille?
Oh, so all the pieces that I've shown you so far are on sanded paper. And I like this sanded paper because I am able to spray it with like a textured fixative and then glaze directly over the top of it. But I have seen, I do kind of a grisaille in almost all of my work. So when I'm working on a hot press watercolor paper, I'll do a grisaille as well. It looks a little differently because I won't stain my paper the same way that I do on my sanded paper, but I will like lay out all my value in one color first, just so that I know where my shadow shapes are. To whoever asked that question, does that answer it?
Yes, yes, it does.
Okay, great. Any other questions before I transition over to the demo?
That's the one I saw.
Okay, thanks so much. So you guys can see my camera up on the screen now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this one over here on the left is the one that I was working on while the technical difficulties in your meeting notes, so that I could show you like, and I started it during the meeting. So this is a lay-in in about 20 to 30 minutes or less, which all of you guys have been working with color pencil for quite a while. That's like a game changer, right? If you can get all your color on your surface that quickly, then you have something to respond to. And my goal for these underpaintings isn't to get every single detail perfect or even every single color perfect. It's to get something on my surface so that I can respond instead of just being like a photocopier, which I think is one of the things that we run into as colored pencil artists sometimes, is that some of the magic and the painterly approach disappears And because we're so keyed in on the details and we're so zoomed in on one little piece at a time. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about how I do that as I paint this next piece, which I've got the photograph here. And it's some kind of unripe figs, which actually this photo is from California, so it'll be super, super appropriate. I'm also going to show you the materials that I'm working with. I'm going to pivot this camera around and show you guys my my pan pastel. So I actually have like an 80 set, which is every single color that they make. And my reason for that was not because I have an unlimited painting or art budget, because funds are tight for all of us. But I got the full set because I wanted to be able to respond and to be as painterly as possible. And if I was fiddling around mixing every single color and was limited in my options, I wasn't going to be able to respond quite as well. So I actually picked the full 80 set, but they do have smaller sets that you can, and you can buy them individually, so that if you wanted to start with something small, you could. And then the other tools that I'm going to be using, you may or may not be familiar with. I just love these tools. They're called soft tools, and I think they're made by Pan Pastel as well. These are like little palette knives with spongy covers over the top. And then I also have these little doodads that kind of look like makeup brushes. I've got some teeny ones, and then I also have ones with long handles. And these are what I actually use to apply the color. I'll dip them directly into the Pan Pastel, and then I will apply them onto the surface. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on this piece and show you kind of how I build it up. While I'm doing that, I'll obviously be looking at my reference and my piece. So if you have questions, please just shout them out and talk to me while we're doing the demo. And be patient with me, because sometimes I have a hard time like painting and answering questions at the same time. So I might pause here and there just to make sure that I answer your question accurately. So so now I'm going to start. One of the things that I like to do is I like to work from dark to light. And that's kind of something that's really typical to oil painting and is kind of backwards to the way a lot of us work in colored pencil. And so I actually am looking for those darkest shadow shapes first. And I am laying them in to kind of create the context and the depth in my piece. Pan pastels allow you to lay lights right over the top of darks. So you don't have to worry about like not being able to see that color again. The other thing about sanded paper is when I do my colored pencil details next, I can actually lay the color right on top. So by that I mean, like, I could take a white colored pencil and I can lay it directly on top of some dark Pan Pastel, and it'll show up really well.
Is that UArt paper you're using?
So I actually started with UArt paper, and Aliona Nicholson, the creator of Brush and Pencil, she goes, "Will you try my paper?" Because I've been using the UArt. And I said, sure. And I wasn't expecting anything special because I did really like UArt, and her paper is just so much better. So I have all of this UArt paper that I had bought in bulk and that I just don't use anymore, because her sanded paper, there's a couple reasons why I like this Lux, and it's the Lux Archival sanded paper, which I like quite a bit more. One of the reasons that I like her paper a little more is because it comes in bright white, which was something UArt didn't do. UArt only comes in a beige or a black. And if we're going back to kind of like my theme for today, which is traditional oil painting, traditional oil painters started with a bright white surface, and then they laid an imprimatura, which is a stain of color over the top. And that bright white surface, I'm going to pause for a second. The bright white surface allows the light to bounce off of that original surface and kind of dance through all of the different layers. So you're able to get the most out of your transparent colored pencils, and you're able to get this sheen and this glow from your work that you can't have unless you start with a bright white surface. So that was one of the really big ones for me, The other thing that I just love about it is that it's super sturdy and it doesn't curl at all. So when I worked on really big projects on my UART paper, it would kind of warp and curl on me as I was working, and I would like have the entire thing just taped around, and I could never really get it to stay on the surface. And this is so sturdy. I actually painted over it with wet media. It never worked, and all I have is like 4 little pieces of tape taped on the back, and it just stays on my surface. So that's why I use that paper now, and I don't use the UART anymore. What do you guys think? Have you guys used UART or Lux Archival before?
No, I haven't. I used the Clairefontaine pastel mat.
What did you think of that one? That's pastel mat, so it's a little different.
But... I don't think I mastered it.
So one of the differences that I've noticed with the pastel mat, it's a little bit of a smoother surface. It's great for layering, which I love, but you can't really stain it and do transparent layering quite the same way as you can with the Lux Archival sanded paper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just finishing a piece right now on UART. I think I used the 600 or 800 grit because I got a package of a sample package that had all different grits.
Oh,
and
great.
One way I get away from the curling is I mount it on a piece of mat board before I even start the piece.
Like with spray fixative or something?
Actually, I think it's a 3M product. It's a film that's a double-sided adhesive film.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll cut the mat board to the size that I want to be using. And then I will adhere the adhesive film to it. And then I'll put my piece of paper down. And I use a brayer in order to make it a really tight, solid fit of the adhesive to the paper itself. And that way I already have kind of a backing board applied to the piece before as I finish it, I don't have to mount it on a backing board or anything. And it does keep the UART from doing that curl thing.
Oh, that's great to hear. So, and what kind of work are you doing on that UART? Are you kind of doing a mixed media or just colored pencil?
This particular piece, I used pan pastel as my base to lay in my shapes. Mm-hmm. And then I went in with colored pencil. But I've also been working for the last 8 or 9 months in soft pastel. And so I use it for both of those. It just so happened because I got the sample pack in order to use the 400 and 500 grit for the soft pastel. And I thought, well, I've heard of other people using the UART for colored pencil. So the 600 and 800 grit, I thought I would give it a try with colored pencil and see what it was like to use. I like the fact I can get lots of layers. And I like working on sanded surfaces too. Previously, I would work on Art Spectrum Color Fix. But I like the UART better than I even like that. It's got a more consistent surface than the UART Color Fix or the.
If you already know that you love the sanded paper, you've got to try the Lux Archival sanded paper. Okay. I think it is the best. I just love it so much.
Okay,
so
I will do
if
that.
You get a chance to try that. I think. Use up all your UART first though, because once I tried it, I didn't ever want to use it again. I was like, oh no, I'm hooked. I can't. So I have like $50 of UART paper that's just sitting there. Just to catch up with the process so far. So really, I'm mostly focusing on those dark shadow shapes. I'm playing around with different greens. So when I do see that green cooling off, I'm adding some bluish greens and blues to my work. And I'm starting to transition into some of the mid values. If at any point though, during the process, like what color are you mixing, or I don't see that or whatever, just let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions that are popping up for you. anybody curious about the color that I chose for my stain?
Yes.
So so this is like a red Inktense block that I use to stain my paper before I started adding the pan pastel. And one of the reasons I did this on a little sample piece, just a couple of, it was like days, I can't even measure it in weeks, it was like days ago that I did this. And I used complementary colors. Since it's such a green composition, I didn't want it to get boring with it just being green. So having that complementary color, the color opposite on the color wheel, adds a lot of contrast and is going to give my greens a lot of pop. And I'm actually going to just stop my demo for just a second because I'll show you what this looks like finished. We're not going to get to quite the finished place today, but this is just a little 4x4. It was pan pastel base and then color pencil over the top. And you can see there's like an orangey red underpainting that just peeks through in little places. And so I really like that complementary play. It just makes both of the colors kind of sing the way that they stand out and play against each other. Logistical things with pan pastels, if you haven't used those before, I am not cleaning my sponge off in between. I just dip it right into the pan pastel and apply it on. If I wanted to transfer to completely different colors, maybe I would wipe it off a little bit, but even now I just grab blue right out. I didn't even clean it off. And because it's a very opaque medium, I don't need to worry about that too much. It is getting a little dirty now that my blue's done. So what I'll do is I'll just grab, I just have like a paper towel here, and I'll just wipe it off in a paper towel. When I'm all done with a painting session, that's what I call this. I call them painting sessions, even though I'm not using paint. I'll wash all my sponges off with just some soapy water so they're brand new and clean again for a next session. And I'm gonna just kind of dip in here a little bit and start blocking in the sky. It's not my goal to cover up all of the red. I want to see some of that because I just think it's I think it's just kind of like a magic moment to see that red popping through. So it's never my goal to cover it all up, but just to kind of block it in and to get a sense of the way that it's working. What other questions do you guys have about this process or my materials or anything else that's on your mind?
Right now, just excited to see what you're doing.
So when you get to a finished process and you've completed your actual pastel painting, what type of fixative would you recommend to our artists to actually seal the powder itself?
So I actually have kind of transitioned away from like framing my work behind glass, and I'm doing it all mounted boards with glazing. So I have like an incredibly like tedious process of doing that because obviously to like frame without glass is going to be kind of tricky when you're working with pastel and color pencil. So what I'll typically do is once I have my pastel base finished, before I add color pencil, I'll just do like a coat or two of textured fixative. And what that does, and that's a brush and pencil product, that will lock in the layers and will allow it to like not flake off or kind of be smudged while I'm working on the color pencil layer over the top. That isn't a mandatory move. I know quite a few artists that just like jump right into the color pencil, but honestly, I just don't like having a mess in my studio. And when I'm working with colored pencil over the top, if the pastel underneath is loose, it'll kind of flake out and move around on me a little bit. So rewind, after this is done, I'll texture fixative 2 or 3 coats maybe. And then I'll add the colored pencil. Once the colored pencil is done, I will I'm not kidding, like 12 coats of a spray varnish. So I think it's called Golden Gloss Varnish with UVLS, ultraviolet light stabilizers. So that fixes it in and it keeps it from the sunlight deteriorating the work. It keeps all the colors light fast. And then I glaze over the top of it with maybe like another 4, 5, 6 coats of like a painting varnish, like an acrylic polymer varnish. And at one point I said, oh, I'm going to make a video of this because I'm sure people would want to know it. I just haven't gotten around to it. Is that kind of a video that people would like to see?
Yes.
Okay. Then
Now,
I have a list a million miles long. I'm sure you guys all do, of like all the projects I want to do and all the things I want to be working on. But that is on the list. So eventually I'll get around to it.
that other piece that you showed us, the finished piece, is that mounted on cradled birch?
It's, I don't know if it's birch specifically. I'll grab it and put it back in. It's like a 1 7/8 cradled board from Blick. I think they're called, I don't know the exact name, some kind of cradled primed board. So they already come primed. And then I mount them with the that 3M sticker thing that another artist was talking about. I use the double-sided mounting adhesive, and then I spray and glaze them.
Right.
Sorry to disturb you again, but one of our members would like you just to clarify what the actual paper is called again in the demonstration you're doing at the moment. They're having a little bit of difficulty hearing.
Oh, no problem. So the paper that I am using right now is called Lux Archival Sanded Paper, and that is a brush and pencil product. So brush and pencil makes a couple things that kind of go with these papers. They do that textured fixative that I also was discussing. And then they make a couple other like color pencil accessories, I would call them. So Lux Archival is LUXARCHIVAL, sanded paper. Okay, so I'm coming in and I'm starting to like add some of the yellow in those little fig fruits now. One thing I'm noticing is I am starting to get a little bit of a mess on I want this to be more yellow. So I'm gonna wipe my sponge out again. And this is the awesome part about this sanded paper, because it does it with color pencil as well. I can just add the color directly over the top. I don't have to pull it off. I don't have to do any kind of fancy eraser work. I can just add my more yellow pigments right over the top, because that sanded texture holds all the pigment on the surface. So I'm gonna just, and there are some stripes happening on here, but that's just not gonna be really part of my goal at the moment. I want to block in major basic color. I don't want to get caught up in those details, because if I do find those details beautiful later on, I can add them in with colored pencil. But in the way I work, I just don't feel that pastel is really the best way to do that. I think pastel is good for big moves, for general color. And that keeps me kind of in that painterly mindset where there's kind of like a couple rules, I feel like, that classify painting. And I think you work dark to light, and you work from general to specific. And so I don't want to dial in on any specific detail too early, because I want to make sure that this composition works with its color and its value first before I work in details.
Lana?
Yes.
I have never worked in pan pastels, and I'm just wondering how messy are they? One of the reasons I like colored pencil is because they're not messy. And so how messy are pan pastels?
So I also am not a messy person. I hear what you're saying. So there is some dust, and actually I'm going to turn my camera down just a little bit so that you can see a little bit of the dust that comes out. You can see that ridge on my easel there. I'll zoom in a little bit. So some of the dust does kind of fall out as you work, maybe, but mostly in the tray in my easel. If you were working in your lap or something, that would probably build up. Some people like to work on a flat table. I like to work upright, but if you were working on a flat table, there would be kind of dust that you'd have to like sweep off or kind of shake off or blow off or something. But I used to work with just regular pastels, and you would hold them with your fingers, and then you would have just chalk all over your fingers, and it would be so messy. And just having this palette knife is a huge game changer, because I can use all of the colors that I want, and I'm actually never touching them. And so there's a little fallout, but that happens with colored pencil on sanded paper too. You have a little bit of that dusty fallout. You really don't have to worry about a huge mess with these. So I think they'd be worth a try. I don't think that the mess would turn you off. I don't consider them a very messy material.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That underpainting really makes it glow.
I love the red under there. I think it was just kind of like a new thing I've been working on, and I just think it's so fun to work on the red. But thank you so much.
Rhonda, you said that you used a polymer varnish on top of all your sprays. Is that a water base that you're using, or because there's
the spray that I do? So once it's finished, I use a spray varnish, and that one is a mineral-based solvent. So I do that outside, like with a gas mask. When that is done and dry, then my polymer acrylic varnish is a water-based one.
Okay.
And because you can't find it right now because the pandemic has wiped it out. So I went to go and order some because I have a festival coming up, and it was gone. And I actually found a fairly reasonable alternative. I'll show it to you really quick. I like my polymer one better. That's by Golden, but this, has anybody used SpectraFix products before?
No.
Yes, I have.
Some of you might have. They're kind of like a natural product. They are trying to be less toxic, more natural. And this natural glass that I just put up on the screen, I used that after I did my very toxic OMS spray varnish. And that's what's on this one that I just showed you, this final one. And it actually, I think it presents really nicely. It's really glossy, and it's got a great coverage. And so I think that's also a good alternative to the acrylic polymer one.
Well, we're obviously not going to get to see the colored pencil over this. I hope you finish it and send us a couple of progress shots.
Oh, sure. Well, and I will, I'm probably going to make a video. So whoever is in charge of the Zoom, if you can send me a recording, I'll like comprise it all together with like the finished thing. And then I can send you guys a YouTube link when it's all done too.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, then we can share it with the people that kind of weren't able to make it, or were kind of confused by all of the tech this morning.
Right, that'd be great.
Yeah, no problem.
I know the other chapters would be interested too.
Oh no, I'm happy to share, and I'm so excited to like be with other artists, because it's just all my live classes kind of dried up in the pandemic, and I haven't really picked those back up. I've just switched all to digital, and it's just so fun to be with you guys.
Well, plus you also moved.
I did. yes. Quite a year and a half.
I'm taking it's the CPSA chapter, and I'm on mute. So
I am putting some of like those brightest whites in now. I really am going to hit my brightest whites with the colored pencil later on, but sometimes it's nice just to have some of it here as a reference so I can see how light that's going to go. I'm not grabbing like white directly. I'm grabbing kind of like this yellow tint, but I am starting to try to give myself a little bit more form in those areas now. I'm happy to answer questions even that aren't related to this though. So if there are any other questions of colored pencil in general, I just love experimenting with all kinds of materials. So I haven't done everything, but if you do have a question on your mind, I'll see if I can answer it.
I have a comment.
Okay, a comment works too.
I really enjoyed your video with showing how you layer color, and then you do mineral spirits, OMS, and then more color, your successive layers of color and solvent.
Okay, is that a YouTube video that you're referring to?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I believe it was the cacti.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I think that's a very interesting thing for, it's another way to speed up the progress when you do. And also you use ink tints at times too, to do your underlayer. So that's another opportunity for people to check that out.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I am all about trying every single thing that I possibly can when it comes to art materials. I'm an addict and I love experimenting with new materials. So it's kind of, I do a little bit of everything. And yes, OMS is great. And you know what I discovered recently that just in the last like maybe 6 months to a year is that you can use OMS on this sanded paper, which wasn't something I was doing previously. And it actually moves around so much more on the sanded paper because, and for those of you that have never touched sanded paper before, it feels like sandpaper. And so when you're using your colored pencil on it, it grinds it up quite a bit, which means there's a lot of extra pigment on your surface. And that pigment activates with the either water if you're doing water soluble or OMS if you're using kind of traditional colored pencil. And it moves around like paint. It's really surprising. So that's kind of a fun thing if you want to try. That's something that I actually I teach in my course too, how to use the solvent and how to build up those layers. So I'm going to try to sink this area back. It's quite a bit darker. And I don't use black very often. And I almost never use straight black, but I am going to grab a little bit of black and mix it with some of my dark green. So I have just something a little bit deeper than what I've got so far. So I can really punch some of those values back. And I know I said work dark to light, and I've kind of passed like mapping in those dark values, but like with all things in art, there's always a time to break a rule. And as you build this up, being able to kind of sense what things need to get pushed back, what things need to get pulled forward. That's kind of the beauty of making it more like a painting, creating a more painterly approach. So I'm going to just sink some of these shadows back just a little deeper. And then I can also push the light values as well as they kind of go back and forth. Any other questions or thoughts popping up for anybody?
Yeah, I have another one.
Yes, please.
I have a bunch of paper that I need to use up. And so to use the pan pastels, what should I use? Drawing paper, vellum, colored pencil paper, mixed media paper, acrylic? What should I use?
Personally, I prefer the sanded paper for a couple reasons. The sanded paper has kind of this gritty texture that will hold a lot more layers and won't let it slip around. There is an artist that I'm friends with on Instagram who uses it on like a Strathmore 500 paper, I think. And she does a pan pastel base, but she doesn't do it the way I do it. She's laying down just a very small amount at a time, kind of like you would apply like eyeshadow. It's a very thin, kind of transparent layer, and then she'll put some colored pencil over the top of it. I prefer the sanded paper because of the way I work. I like to just get quite a bit of color and texture in there quick. So personally, I don't use the papers that you listed off, like colored pencil paper or like a hot press or a Bristol or vellum. I use them for other colored pencil projects, but I don't use them with pan pastel. I usually stick just to sanded paper for that.
Lana, could you remind me what kind of colored pencils you use over the Pan Pastel? Are they the oil-based like the Polychromos and the Pablos?
I use both actually, but I kind of use them in a very like strategic order. So my after this is done and fixed, I'll come in with an oil-based pencil. Those pencils do react very different to sanded paper than your wax-based pencils will. So they're gonna blend a little bit more. They're gonna be a little more transparent. When you switch over to wax-based colored pencils, they're gonna stick to your surface a little bit more. They're gonna be a little bit more permanent. And I use my final layers are gonna be more of the wax-based colored pencils. So my preferred pencils are usually Polychromos over the top of Pan Pastel, and then luminance over the top of that. That's kind of the way that I work on it. I do have a video on YouTube that's the difference between wax and oil-based colored pencils. I don't think that's what it's called, but it's like what colored pencils do I use on sanded paper, something like that. And I do have a link that I'm going to send to whoever sends out your newsletter. And just make sure you check that out, because I just show you exactly how all the colored pencils react on the sanded surfaces. And I think it's nice to kind of have that as a just kind of know what to expect, because if you are switching from traditional white papers, it's a bit of a shock. They're very different. And that was Gary. Gary, what colored pencils are you currently using and do you like to use?
I love the Polychromos. Those are my main ones. The other question that I had was, you were talking about the Lux Archival was being bright white and you liked it because it bounced off the color, but then you put a coat of sort of an orangish color over that. So
sure.
will
so does
the
that
color
defeat the
still
purpose,
bounce?
right?
Yeah.
No, so the color that I'm putting over the top is transparent. And so the white is still coming through that transparent layer. When artists that work with oil paint, when they are laying their transparent glaze over the top, they pick a very specific color based on their composition, and then they lay it down transparently. If this is almost done, so I'm actually gonna put that demo on pause for a second, and I'm gonna grab another surface to show you the difference. If I can find it. Okay, all right, I'm back. So I'm going to stop that share for just a second. And I heard someone say they worked on a pastel mat by Claire Fontaine, right?
Right.
Some of you are familiar with that. That is already like a colored surface. So here's a picture of a piece of my Claire Fontaine pastel mat. There is no white coming through this. It's like an opaque yellowish color, which is beautiful. And I love this for wildlife. But if I want my pieces to kind of glow and have that like warmth and transparency that comes through, I lay transparent color over the top. And that's kind of the difference between like a painted wall versus a piece of stained glass. And that, with the stained glass, you kind of get that glow and that light coming through. And I'm going to see if I can put these right next to each other. I don't know, it's hard on Zoom because the camera is not great. It's different in life, but there's quite a difference between like the texture and the luminosity in something that is opaquely colored versus something that is transparently colored. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. And if you were to lay transparent color over the top of like a piece of beige UArt paper, you wouldn't quite get the same experience because it doesn't start on that initial white. All of that other beige, the beige pigment is going to change and alter the color that you're laying over the top.
Right, and you said that the transparent layer was done with an Inktense block.
Yes, I do that. I do the Inktense blocks or Inktense pencils or the museum Aquarelle by Carandosh. All of those are kind of make their way into my transparent glazes, or the oil painting phrase would be an imprimatura. So I'm gonna switch back for just a quick second so you can see kind of where we ended, because I did that very quickly. Just to make sure that there aren't any other questions, I'm gonna move my photo reference so you can kind of see the other one. You can kind of see where these go. And I mean, these honestly could be their own pieces, but my style is to usually come back in and tighten up and add the detail. So I'll compare that to kind of where I anticipate it going after, oh, there we go. After I have the colored pencil on. And yep, that's kind of my process for these. While the camera is up, are there any questions about any of these pieces or any of the process?
Well, very interesting and neat to see how far you got in this period of time, but I am anxious to look forward to your progress shots to completion.
Sure, yeah, let me give you guys a couple of, a little bit of information on if you want to continue like seeing what I'm doing and learning with me. So let's see, there we go. Share my desktop with you for a second. And I'm going to send this out to you guys. So who is in charge? I've been talking to Helen, but Helen and Susan and Lupe, would you be able to just email this out to everybody after our talk today?
Sure.
Great. Okay. Then I'll show you what is coming, and then you'll get all these links, so you don't have to write it down. But if you want to kind of just stay engaged with what I'm doing and see kind of what work I'm making and the videos, I'm going to direct you to this area here, this like connect with me. And I've got my website there and my email address. And I really am super passionate about just helping everybody as much as I can. So you don't ever have to worry about reaching out to me with a question. I'm really excited and happy to help with that. And then I have an email newsletter that is kind of sporadic, but I send out like updates and things that I'm doing and tips and stuff. So there's a link there to sign up. And then I also am on Instagram and Facebook. So connect with me however feels natural and best for you, and just say hi, and that would be awesome. And then I'm going to scroll up here. I've also got some YouTube videos so that you can see. Sometimes it's easier for me to kind of choreograph and put everything together for you so you can see more of my process than I can show you on Zoom. And so I have actually a playlist that if you're interested in this, I'd recommend that you check out. It's called Colored Pencil on Sanded Paper. And there are probably 8 to 10 videos of just different things that I'm doing on sanded paper, different products that I use. And that's on YouTube. You'll have that link. And along with all the other kinds of stuff I'm doing with Colored Pencil too. And then I had mentioned earlier that I have my online course, which is kind of, I've been working on it all year. I'm so excited about it. And I beta tested it with a group of 6 other artists that just really, really enjoyed it. And I wanted to just say thank you so much for having me here, and wanted to share with you guys a coupon code if you're interested in signing up. There's a free demo on my website that you can check out. It's a 30-minute lesson to see if you're into online learning and if you're into kind of the way that I teach and the way that I present material. And if you do like it, you can purchase the course, and there's this save $25 off of the course. But I also teach the course in conjunction with a workshop. So we hop on Zoom conversations. I do live demos like I did with you guys today. I do a Q&A, and we have 4 of those. And then I critique your work and give you feedback on how your projects are going. And we have 4 of those throughout the workshop. And then there's a coupon code if you want to purchase the workshop in conjunction with the course. And it's my first time running this live, so I did want to give you guys like a big, nice coupon for it. So, do you guys have any questions about any of that?
Nope. I really suggest, though, if you haven't checked out her videos, do that.
Thank you so much.
Very.
Maybe we could pop a few features in the next newsletter after this, so that we've got a little story of yourself when you're working. Maybe you could send us just a couple of little bits so that we can do a small article, an article of yourself with all these extra little bits in our next newsletter after this one.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds great. And I do I just realized I didn't mention this, that if you're interested in doing the workshop, it starts October 14th. So it's kind of coming right around the corner. And then the enrollment for that will be closed until probably January. Won't do another one until then. So if you are interested and excited, I would jump on it. Don't wait because the door on that one will close. So so I hope I see some of you there. And yeah, and I'm happy to stay on as if anyone has any other questions about the course, about the process, about anything else.
All right.
I think this was terrific. Thank you.
Yes, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Very
Awesome.
All right. Are we good?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very enjoyable. Look forward to seeing more, and we will make sure to get this the recording straightened out and over to Lana so she can add some progress shots, etc. Because I know I'm very interested in seeing what the final result is.
Yeah, I'm happy to share them with you. It might be, I have a big festival next week. It's my first kind of live art festival. And so it's not going to be like this week that video and those art pieces are going to be done, but maybe in a couple of weeks.
Understand. We're all kind of in end of the year crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks so much for having me. It was great to see you all. And I hope that you find a way to connect with me and say hi again. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? All right. Look for the newsletter this week and see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Great meeting.
Thank you.